Hey, love, have you ever wondered how some people manifest love easily and effortlessly, but then it seems like others kind of take months or even years to manifest? Like, even take, for example, this person who was in my email coaching, and they wrote, "We haven't been in daily communication in 2 years. I've had the most communication and movement since I saw or started watching your videos. The challenge of the instant text happened the next day. That was the first time I was able to manifest communication." So think about this. In 2 years, this person wasn't able to see any sort of communication, any sort of daily texting. And just with a singular video and this email coaching, they're able to see a total different change in their reality. And so again, what's going on here? And the reason behind this, to put it as simply as possible, is actually our own beliefs about love. And which makes sense because we know in law of assumption, what you kind of believe, what you assume is going to be your reality. But remember, when we have negative beliefs about love, that's how we're going to see our reality begin to reflect outside of us. And so think about, and I'll give you a Neville Goddard quote that's going to, well, I guess I'll give you one and then I'll go into the second one. So Neville Goddard stated, "Only the loving find love," which makes sense, right? Because if we're going to assume or need to assume as if we already have something, then we need to be the thing that we're trying to receive. So if we want to find love, we must be loving. If we want to receive wealth, we must be wealthy. If we want to receive health, we must be healthy. And so that's something called, and it's an intense word, but it really doesn't mean anything crazy. It's called the reciprocity norm, because you guys know I like to add some little bit of psychology into these law of assumptions videos, because truly, I would say the psychology is kind of like the study of your own mind, which is basically a way of tricking yourself into assuming as if you already have it, so manifesting in the quickest way possible. But the reciprocity norm basically states when something happens in your reality, we feel as if we need to do the same thing back. Okay, so if someone is nice to you, you feel like you have to be nice to them. Or if you tell someone you love them, the same thing happens in reverse. But basically, if you think of it simply, your reality is a mirror. But sometimes, if it's really hard to kind of think about your reality being a mirror, or you're thinking like, I don't know, my logical mind can't wrap around it, then use the reciprocity norm. Meaning, if you drive someone to the airport, it feels like they are going to want to repay you back, right? But that's obviously the law of assumption mirror effect, but the same thing is happening. And what I have found when we begin to, so take for example that first kind of success story that we just came right out with. So if they haven't been in communication in 2 years, and obviously I don't want to go too much into detail about their specific situation because I want to keep their privacy, but when you haven't been or known someone for 2 years and you haven't been in communication, a lot of assumptions begin to take place, right? We begin to think and assume some very less than positive things about them, right? We're going to be assuming, what are they doing? They're not texting me, rude, mean, idiotic, right? We probably have all of these words to describe our specific person. But remember, think about our reality being an exact reflection. Because if we are constantly thinking of this or sending less than positive vibes towards our specific person and assumptions, then how could they ever show up in any other way? So, this is what causes, again, that question at the beginning of, have you ever wondered how people manifest overnight and then others take months to manifest? And this is the exact outcome. When we begin to react to our reality, instead of remembering that we create it, we begin to see that we get stuck in a cycle. It's kind of I guess I got another Neville Goddard quote for you. Signs always follow, they never precede, meaning that they're never going to come before. You're never going to have your specific person coming to you, loving you, wanting to be with you, and then you're going to get into the state. It's not how it works. It's kind of like in the same reality of, if you want someone to drive you to the airport, you have to drive them to the airport, which I know, again, don't get too stuck on these like logical ideas because really it's all within, but it's supposed to be like a metaphor for your reality. So the more we assume our specific person is not someone who wants to text us, who is rude, who is mean, who is connected massively to our whatever previous kind of belief or story that we have, the more we're just going to create more of that. So that's what causes like a 2-year kind of cycle of manifesting the same thing over and over again, but then see that kind of switch again in a single video, in a single email coaching session. And so it's like, that's what we want to remember, because like, I want to dive into this idea of how usually we're like frustrated. I've been there 100%. And a lot of people manifesting kind of get into this frustrated state where they really want their specific person to show up, but they're kind of waiting on them. They're like, oh, I'll accept my specific person in my reality once they show up exactly how I want. And I would say, perfect. That's awesome. That the thinking is flawless, right? We need to remember we're trying to basically create the reality of the relationship that we want, and that's flawless. The where it actually kind of messes up is that your specific person is forever reflecting you and who you are and your internal state and your internal thoughts. So if you're waiting on your specific person to show up loving, but our assumptions remain the same, you will forever be waiting or in the same state. Because again, here's that Neville Goddard quote that I really, really like that I wanted to include in here. And it is, give and you will receive. You cannot receive what you have not given. Give a perfect gift and you will receive a perfect gift. But the gift, quote unquote, in this quote or in this reality or in this thought is actually just your assumption. Give the gift of love. Give the gift of seeing someone in a light that is positive and perfect and amazing, and you will receive them the gift of that being expressed. In the same way, when you assume your reality and give yourself, which is again your reality, the gift of happiness, abundance, your reality matches that as the mirror would. But like I mentioned, most of us, or a lot of us, I know I keep saying this, but I've been in the same state where you're like, I'll be happy and I'll accept my specific person once they show up how I want. But they're waiting on you. Okay, it's always us that is this deciding factor. In the same way, I always like to make this joke, but it is a true joke. And you can go out and find a couple like this. Think of like a couple who's been together like 50 years and they like bicker back and forth all the time. Let's say they actually are in a massive fight and they're angry. Who do they say is the problem? Are they like, oh, of course it's me, I'm the problem, I'm bringing in all these assumptions? No, they say they're the problem, and the other person says, no, they are the problem. And so they're stuck in this cycle forever because they are not remembering the law of assumption, right? Your reality assumes, and this rule of reciprocity, of the reciprocity norm, you are just getting back exactly what you're putting out. So when you are stating they're the problem, once they change, I'll change, you're stuck in a cycle forever. And I think being stuck in a cycle is something that is, I don't want to say very common, but it actually, that might be the best phrase for it. It is kind of very common when it comes to manifesting, because in order to change a state, to move out of this feeling, to do something better, we have to do something different. Like if you do the same thing over and over again, if you continue assuming your specific person as being someone who isn't nice, is mean, doesn't text you, this and that, you're just going to continue seeing that happen again and again and again. Like, for example, even I've seen people who are receiving massive successes, but because of this idea or assumption their specific person isn't good or is bad or focusing on what they don't want, they begin to see that it just repeats in that way. Like someone recently in an email coaching session, I guess today's email coaching session day of success stories, they were manifesting every single day receiving a message from their specific person. So think about that. Think about receiving a message every single day from your specific person. Is that something you feel would make you happy or upset? Take your time. Think about that. You'd be like happy, right? I would be so abundant, so happy I'm receiving these texts every day from my specific person. But this person, because they were in a less than positive state or based on previous assumptions, was still thinking, yeah, but it could be better. Their texts are very superficial, but it's like, yeah, but this showcases, it's a really good example of how your reality is exactly what you make of it. And your reality can be giving you so many positive successes, but because we're not totally seeing it, totally putting our mind into it, we're going to completely miss it. You can't see something that is outside of your current state. So if you are feeling like my specific person is someone mean, rude, superficial, they could text you every single day, text you, I love you every moment. Let's hang out every single day. And we would totally miss it. I know we don't feel as if we would, but we would. Like you'll totally miss that reality if you're not in the state of it. So just remember, that's what we want to do. So basically focus on the way to kind of implement this, because I was going to kind of bring a technique in this, but I think it's just like, I think it's self-explanatory. So what you're giving, remember, I'll just repeat this Neville Goddard quote one more time. Given you will receive. You cannot receive what you have not given. Give the perfect gift and you will receive the perfect gift. So give love. Give love 1,000 times over before you even feel as if you receive it, okay? That's going to be life-changing in your reality. And remember, give your specific person or treat yourself and your specific person in the way that you feel it should be in the relationship. So if you want them to be, if you feel as if the example I kind of use a lot is if they're late all the time to all your dates and you want them to be on time, don't wait for them to be on time to begin assuming it, because then we're in this, again, reciprocity in the negative where we're sending out negative so we receive negative, right? The reciprocity norm is the same no matter what, with positive or negative. If you're mean to someone, they feel as if they must be mean to you in response. They must give back what's receiving. But that's just based on the concept that our reality is a mirror. So take a moment, just think about how we're kind of viewing our specific person. Are you viewing him in a way that matches what you want? Or do we feel as if we're waiting for them to show up in that way before we believe it? That's going to be, again, the way to manifest from taking years, months to manifest, to then manifest really quickly, overnight, instantaneously, like that person did with just my instant text video and this email coaching. Like, it can change really, really fast if you kind of put your mind and assumptions to it. If you did have any questions on this, just make sure to comment them in the comment section below. Remember, you can also reach out to me on my website at kyleaugustcoaching.com. Thank you so much for stopping by today. Hopefully you really like this idea, because it was something I found to expedite, speed up everyone's manifestation. So hopefully you loved it. Leave a thumbs up on this video if you know for a fact you are going to have that same success of manifesting instantly, no matter how much time has happened in the past. Thanks again so much for stopping by today, and I'll see you in my next video tomorrow.